Hi, and welcome to this video on the financial reporting matrix. If this is your first time visiting, then please subscribe and you'll be notified when we make something new. Today's video is going to have two parts. In the first one, I'm making an income statement using this JSON string right here. And in part two, I'm going into the details around JSON and how you can embed formulas, styling, and formatting into one string. So let's just dive into Power BI. Okay, so now let's say this is the report we want to make. And I'm going to go into a new tab. You can start the timer now. And then I go into the visuals and select the financial reporting matrix. Expand that a bit. Start by adding my report line JSON. And then I add years, years to my columns. And let's add account description for my chart of accounts on the next level. Then I'm adding my actuals and budgets. And now if I go into report line JSON and I select show items with no data, I'm basically done. I have all my calculations in there because they're embedded with my JSON string. Then I'm going to do some small tweaks. I'm going to go into column styles, expand that to 250 to get this a bit bigger. And I'm also going to import a theme file. There you go. So that was part one, and hopefully you're curious on how I did that. So let's go straight into part two. So to take a look at how we do this using the JSON string, I'm going to go into my data model, and this is where I have my general ledger as my fact table. I have a date dimension, and I have my chart of accounts, and linked to that I have my report layout, and this is where I contain the JSON string and all the information that goes into it. So to take a look at that, this data table, I'm going to go to my JSON field, and I'm going to remove this for now. And this is the information you need to create the JSON string. So if we take a look at the different parts it takes, it's going to be listed on the screen here. And for the first part, the ID, we put in the information that comes from here. So the report line ID is unique for each row, and it's later used to calculate different subtotals and totals and KPIs and such. The next information is the display name, and that's where I'm pulling in this data. So for my first row, it's sales. And the next column is for the formula field, and it's blank for most of these. But for my total operating income, which is a subtotal, I've specified that this should be the result of IS01 plus IS02. And that's how it's going to generate that subtotal for me. The next field is the style, where you specify what you want the row to look like. And the next one is the format string, and that's straight up how you want the number to be presented. Whole number, decimal number, percentage, or if you want to display a dollar sign or a euro sign in front, you type that in there. And the last one is the sign factor, and that's where you specify if you want to flip the sign. So for instance, sales are usually negative numbers in your general ledger. If you type in -1, it's going to multiply with -1 and flip it so you get it displayed as a positive number. And combining all of these in that string layout, you get this JSON string right here. And this is the one you use to build your report. So if I go to a new page and I add in native matrix, and I add in the JSON report line JSON, you see the full string. And let's add in years and actuals. And my actual measure is just the sum of my amount column. So it's very straightforward. And you can see that my sales are negative. My different costs are positive. So this is what I want to flip the sign on. And I also want my subtotals. So I'm going to go to show items with no data. And now you can see my total operating income row is showing, but it doesn't show a value for that. But by jumping over to our financial reporting matrix, you can see that it's doing a lot of things at once. It's shortening down the full JSON string to only show the display name. It's flipping the sign based on what I have in this sign factor. And for all my subtotals, there's a lot happening. It's calculating the value based on the formula field. It's also applying a style based on what I have in my styles field. And if you look down at operating margin, you can also see that it's applying a format string for that. And if I go to page 2, which I have pre-made, you can see my report lines side by side with my JSON layouts, all the information that goes in. So if I click on total operating income, you can see that it's defined by this formula and this style and this format string. If I go down to another subtotal, you can see the formula is a bit different because it's referencing different rows, but it's using the same style. That's why it looks the same. And if I go to operating margin, it's using styles called KPI, and it's using the format string percentage. And this layout here is, for me, it's contained in an Excel sheet. And if I want, I can go in here and in the format string for my net profit and loss, I could add in a $sign and 2 decimals. And I can also change the style for this to KPI. If I save this and update, this is going to look the same as my operating margin. So let's close that and refresh. And now you can see I get a $sign, I get 2 decimals, and it's now using the same style as my operating margin. And this change is going to follow through to every report and every visual I've made where I've used the report layout JSON string. So if I go back to page 3 that I just made, you see the same change here. If I go to page 1, which I made in the in the first part of this video, this changes here as well. If I go to the demo, which is the one I wanted to remake, you can see the same change here. So as you can see, this is a very easy way to create an income statement, and you can use it for a balance sheet or any report containing subtotals for that matter. And as you saw, we used very little DAX to achieve this result. It was just a simple sum of the amount column, and the rest is covered by the JSON string. By using the JSON string and embedded formulas and styling and formatting, you can make sure that all your calculations across all your reports are done the exact same way. So in a way, you're centrally controlling all your calculations and the look and feel of the reports. I have added all the files in the description, so that should be available for download, so you can try this yourself. And if you have any questions or any feedback, then please let us know in the comments. And that's it for now, so thanks for watching.